Joan Laporta there in the stands watching, and I don't think he'll be very happy with this result. Barcelona going in as heavy favorites. They've had some wobbly comebacks in their last two La Liga games, but today there was no comeback to be in the Spanish capital. Well, at this point, let's welcome in a former Rayo Vallecano player, Mario Suarez, who's joining us. But first, let's start here in studio. Craig, you and I have been watching this game all day, and a draw. As you said, you were looking at Barcelona in that second half, in those dying minutes, and they were hanging by a thread, which is something that we didn't really expect.
I thought Rayo Vallecano, bearing in mind that their record transfer, I think, is $8 million. Very small budget, small club. I thought they were absolutely brilliant today. The energy that they put into that game. The quality of their passing was as good, if not better, than Barcelona's. They handled the conditions better. They handled the pitch was terrible. I mean, it was absolutely terrible. Sid Lowe touched on it before. It was unacceptable for a game of this standard in this league, let's be honest about it. But the game was played at 100 miles an hour, and Rayo Vallecano can think themselves extremely unlucky they haven't taken 3 points. They had the penalty that was not a penalty, could not be checked, that was given against them because VAR wasn't working. That should be an inquest straight away, why that wasn't working, again at this level. And secondly, Garcia, the Barcelona goalkeeper, made save after save after save, particularly in the second half. And if Hansi Flick, who made 3 changes to his back four today, was looking for answers from his first couple of games with the defensive issues, particularly the Levante game, if he was looking for answers, he did not get them. He got more questions today about that back line because Rayo Vallecano ripped it open time after time after time. And we talked about it before the game. They had one of the smaller teams in Spain that like to play football. Right? They don't like to just sit in and try and defend. They like to come out, they like to press, they like to play balls in behind. And they were very, very good at that today. And I think Barca, through some bad officiating, some technical issues, and some really good goalkeeping, got a point, basically got a point, because they did not deserve that in the end.
Interesting to hear that, Mario. Let's go to you because, as Craig said, that Barcelona probably didn't deserve the points in the end. This is your former team, and even when I asked you for predictions, you were going with the favourites, Barcelona, to get a win, but your ex-club managed to hold them off.
Yes, I also told you, Alexis, that it was going to be a tough match for Barcelona, and it was. They played well in the first half, but in the second half, they didn't shot on target. No shots on target for Barcelona. Rayo Vallecano players, it's true that they are more used to the pitch. They are training now for 2 weeks there in the stadium every day. They already played one match the other day, midweek, and they play much better in the second half. They deserve the win, but Joan Garcia did an amazing match. Barcelona suffered a lot with long balls. The back line, as Craig said, Hansi Flick is not happy with the performance of the back four today, and he's still looking for this line, these 4 players to compete, to play there, because they miss a lot now Íñigo Martínez. I think they missed today also Pau Cubarsí, and let's see what happens, but I think we saw a really good match from Rayo Vallecano and not so good from Barcelona.
Rayo Vallecano did today better than the likes of Bayern Munich and others. Last year, we were sitting scratching our heads going, why are they not playing the ball in behind early? Why are they not getting runners from a little deeper? The striker doesn't need to bend his run in there. The striker can come out, the front men can come out with the line, and you can get runners from deep with balls in behind. We sat all season last year going, is some of these better clubs, better teams not going to figure this out? And most of them did not. Rayo Vallecano actually broke this back line down better than most did last season. And again, it's something Hansi Flick is not going to change. He's crystal clear on that, right? And it did get them some pretty good success last year. OK, the Inter game, they got caught out. You'll have to look at that. But in terms of partnerships, Íñigo Martínez is gone. Cubarsí has formed a partnership with Araujo at the start of the season. That hasn't gone too well. And I can tell you now, the Christensen and Eric Garcia one tonight was all over the place.
You have to look at him and say that he's actually put that back line in a position to fail. Because the way that it does play, there's a lot of gambling going on with that high line. And so when you make so many changes and you just throw people in together, you really shouldn't be surprised when they're not quite on the same page. So I think Hansi Flick has put them in a position where they were going to fail. And
I think also, and I might be wrong here, but the new goalkeeper in from Espanyol, he looks as if he's more reluctant to play the sweeper-keeper role. And even Wojciech Szczesny, coming off the beach last year, as a retired... Well, he did. He was a retired goalkeeper, having a pina colada, and he got a phone call. Come and play, because Ter Stegen was out injured with a serious injury. But even he was prepared to play on the edge of his box and come out. I was watching this guy today, and it wasn't really his fault, but maybe he's not used to that, coming from where he's came from, and so he's maybe going to have to alter his position a little bit, bearing in mind the gambles that Barcelona take. So if he's a little bit too deep and they're really squeezing up, then he's not going to be able to get to the ball that's in behind unless it's overhit. So all these little things Hansi Flick is going to have to try and iron out.
Yeah, Mario, as Craig pointed out last season, look, it's no secret that I suppose defensively that could be the Achilles heel for Barcelona, but they got away with it more often than not last season. But right now it seems like Hansi Flick needs to adjust that really quickly, or this could be the reason that they don't win all the titles they won last season.
Yes, because last year nobody knows in Spain the way Hansi Flick plays or the way he wants to play with that defensive line. This year is one more year of knowledge from the other teams, from the way you can attack. And I can assure you, I know this coach, Íñigo Pérez, I know these players. The way they play today with the long balls, it was worked during all the week, because every time the opponent team passed the ball back, the defensive lines push and push and press. And when you have a goalkeeper like Batalla, have good feet, the defenders playing a long ball, and you have the wingers fasters like Álvaro García, Easy, they suffer. They suffer because it's amazing all the risks they take, this defensive line. It's not easy to play there. I retire playing as a defender, and I don't want to play like this. I will suffer a lot. So, and also we can talk about the substitutions Hansi Flick did. I think when he take out Rafinha and Dani Olmo, Fermin and Marcus Rashford didn't bring all the energy Hansi Flick wants, and they start suffering there. They didn't create chances. As I said before, they didn't shot on target in the second half. Well, I think they are not in the best moment, but they have time now to rest and to work on that.
How can you have a game, though, at this level these days when VAR wasn't working?
Yeah.
And then it was in the second half. I mean, I know we have technical issues, no matter where we are, but they have to be resolved. Everybody has to be on the same playing field here. So that's frustrating. Quite frankly, it's embarrassing, really. So I don't know who's accountable for that scenario, but clearly the big controversy in the game was the penalty kick just before half-time.
Had VAR been working, I'm pretty sure that wouldn't have been given.
But I tell you what, as well, what we've seen earlier. I mean, Atleti have had a bad start to the season. So if we're taking the 3 title contenders, we believe will be the 3 as per usual, unless somebody else comes on the outside, and I doubt that's going to happen. As they've had a bad start, Real Madrid have got their victories, but there's been a few questions there. And the team that have been the favourites to win the league, although I think 1 or 2 bookies had Real Madrid, I don't know why, but certainly the team that have been the team to beat because they were the best in Spain by far last year, it's been far from a smooth transition into the new season.
Yeah.
It's pretty much the same players. There's 1 or 2 changes. Obviously, the goalkeeping position's changed. One of the centre-half positions is going to change because of Martinez, I think, going to Saudi Arabia. But it's not been as smooth as I thought. It just seems a bit clunky from Barcelona. Even the Levante game, 2-0 down and all over the place at the start of the game. And again, tonight in this game, they were carved open time and time and time again. And be it a bad pitch or a bad final ball or a bad finish, whichever it was for Rayo Vallecano, that's kind of what saved Barcelona tonight.
Yeah.
Wasn't their great play. It was the fact that their goalkeeper stepped up and some of the finishing, because I think, as Stevie mentioned in a couple of the highlights, the ball was really bobbling up off this horrendous surface, and it made it a bit more difficult for the players. That apart, that's the only reason Barcelona go back home with a point.
Yeah, Mario, and I mean, we saw the images from Íñigo Pérez, who was absolutely furious when that penalty was called, because if you take that penalty away, as Craig said, we're looking at probably 3 points for Rayo Vallecano.
Yes, and I'm surprised that they allowed to play this match, because we are playing with different rules than the other teams this weekend, for example, and it was clear that something is going to happen. So also when the referee talked to the coaches, maybe they can stop the match or wait until the VAR is ready. Because as I said, you are playing this weekend with different rules, and without VAR, this can happen and happens today. So I think they will have to take solutions, because this is not it's not normal in one competition like La Liga. In 2025, this is impossible to happen again.
I think I would have thought normal protocol would have been, and we don't like delayed kickoffs, because we all have to stay a bit later. You know what I mean? Everybody, It's not just the players, not just the fans. We don't want delayed kickoffs, but I would have thought some sort of protocol would be in place where until they sort the technical issues out, you can't kick the match off. Maybe things are different in Spain. I think that's probably what happened in England. If there's an issue in England, they'll stop the game until they get the technical issues fixed, and then they restart the game. It's very, very frustrating, but it is for the reasons that Mario mentioned, is to keep it as a level playing field across the whole league for the whole season, as everybody is afforded the chance of a VAR review on big decisions, which Rayo Vallecano didn't get. And then it's ironic, I think it was 20 minutes to go, the damn thing started working. So, I mean, but that apart, I thought it was a great game, very entertaining, as we thought it would be. But for Barcelona, as the team that were head and shoulders above everybody last year in Spain, I think there's a lot of questions there again this year.
It was going to take something special to beat Arsenal today, and Liverpool just always find a way, especially at Anfield. Here are the match stats, but let's have a listen to what the managers had to say after the game.
If we play this game 10 times more in the same fashion, then I think it's 8 times a draw. We win it 1 time and Arsenal wins it 1 time, because it was an uneventful game, which is something sometimes positive as well, because both teams were really good in rest defense and in defending. But I think normally Arsenal and us are able to create more chances during a game.
We didn't do our game plan to frustrate them. We did it to win it. I think we elevated the game and the dominance to a point that they have to raise it. They did, especially from the 60 to 78. When then you could see that there were no margins in the game, and then when that happens, the game is going to be decided in 2 ways. 1, with an individual error, and 2, with a magic moment. And so it was like created a moment that it was incredible, that has won in the game, and that was the difference, nothing else.
All right, well, let's welcome in our Julian Laurent as well, who was taking that game in. But starting off in studio, Craig, I think Ale Moreno was the only one that dared to choose a win in this one. And as you heard from the managers, there was not much to separate them. It was going to take a moment of magic, and Liverpool got it. Yeah,
they did. Arne Slot's right. It was pretty uneventful. I mean, Arsenal lost William Saliba 5 minutes in. That wasn't ideal, but it didn't really affect them too much, in a sense that they controlled a lot. Up to half-time, they were the side to me that looked as if the shape was better, the control of the passing was better, they controlled the tempo better than Liverpool, who I think were a bit rushed in the first half, but didn't really create a lot, you know. And whenever Madueke got running at Kerkez, he looked a problem, because one thing Madueke does, as soon as he gets it to feet, he drives at defenders. And in all fairness, Kerkez has had a tough start to the season, you know, and it was that one ball over the top where Madueke outpaced him, but somehow Kerkez got back in. So he did okay against him, but Madueke was the outball for Arsenal when the outball should have been the other side. How can you have Arsenal's worst player on the day, you can debate that, but and most ineffective player on the day in Gabriel Martinelli, when he's playing against a makeshift right back? You should have been ramming that ball down his throat. Into his feet, isolating him. Don't put anybody else in. Let's isolate Szoboszlai. Get the ball to Martinelli and let him run at him. Right? And Arsenal did not do that. For some reason, they did not. They went down the other side when it was a good contest, but they should have gone to the left-hand side. And then, in my view, in the second half, Liverpool were the dominant side, where Arsenal were in the first half. But I think it's crystal clear that Madueke can come in and do a good job, but they're going to have to get Eze into this side, or something different, something better than they have on the left-hand side, because that really was a weak area for them today. I was hopeful that Arteta would have made his subs a little earlier. I think the game was getting away from him. Liverpool made the first sub, but I think it was getting away from him way before he made the substitution. That being said, they lost to a world-class free kick. But yeah, I think for the control Arsenal had in the first half, I was just expecting a little bit more in the final third. I didn't really see it. And Gyökeres, we were talking about it, in some sense you feel a bit sorry for him. And he looks clunky and he looks ungainly at the moment. But it's almost like they've got this jigsaw. And they've got a piece of this jigsaw that they haven't had for a while. Because he's different. And they don't know how to fit it into the jigsaw. It's not quite fitting at the moment because here you've got a guy that wants balls into the box so you can go and attack it. And he's not getting it. And he's also faced two of the biggest, strongest defenders in the league in his first 3 games. Matthijs de Ligt, who played him well at Old Trafford, and Ibrahim Konate, who was all over him today. So it has not been an easy start for him, but it was a great free kick that won it. But, I think Arsenal have to go away and look at how they get more out of their better players in the final third.
Stevie, I know you're happy with this win.
Listen, in terms of the result, it's a fantastic victory for Liverpool. And I've got to say, and I didn't think I would be saying this, but it was really built on what the back line did defensively. All the way from the start of the season to this game, the worry was, how's this back line going to cope against Arsenal? Well, I guess not only their great play, but the fact that Arsenal was so blunt. I mean, yes, to the eye, they dominated the first half. But other than Madueke, that one shot, Alisson had nothing to do.
Yeah.
The game actually was boring. Let's be honest. Everything from both sides, even when Liverpool did get it, if they actually managed to hold on to it, it was sideways or backwards, or they gave it away. I mean, that was Liverpool's first half. And Arsenal will be disappointed with the amount of ball they had to the amount of opportunities they created, because they just didn't create anything. And then it kind of switched completely to the second half. Liverpool had all the possession, all the domination, but again, Liverpool couldn't produce anything either. So that's why I'm saying Liverpool's victory is absolutely on that one piece of magic, but the biggest part of it is the defence, particularly set pieces. An Arsenal team that had 9 corners, and they never once looked dangerous because Liverpool handled it the way you should. There's 3 key things you do with a team like Arsenal in corners. You have to, number one, get the right players in the right position, which they did. They had the 4 tallest players, Gravenberg, Ekitike, Van Dijk and Konate, all along the 6-yard box. And they had everybody else just picking people up, trying to put them off. Second part is desire. It's all about winning the ball. If you have the desire to win the ball, it doesn't matter how good the opposition are at set pieces. If you've got your 4 big guys and the desire is there, then that's it. And then the most important part when you play Arsenal, when they do get a corner or a set piece, don't panic. Don't panic before they even put the ball in. Just be calm. And when you're calm, you make good decisions. And Liverpool defensively today got all the defensive decisions correct.
Jules, how did you see it? As Stevie said, we saw some good defending, especially from Liverpool. But apart from the free kick, it was pretty much a boring game when we were expecting a blockbuster.
I don't think it was boring. I thought it was quite interesting tactically, and the boys summed it up quite well. I think it was a battle for control, especially in that midfield, and Arsenal were very good at that in the half. It's just hard to try to control 90 minutes against Liverpool, especially at Anfield. And in the second half, Liverpool, especially I thought when Curtis Jones came on and replaced McAllister, was a bit disappointed. But Jones brought a bit more of that energy, verticality, even Gravenberg. And the free kick comes from that verticality, the ball from Van Dijk that we didn't really see much until that point. For Jones on the turn, then forcing Zubimendi to make the foul. I'm still not sure he needs to make that foul, and then it's a great free kick. Obviously, there wasn't much, and a draw probably would have been fairer. But you win titles and trophies when you find a way of winning those kind of games, and that's what Liverpool did last season. Because at times they had to find solutions, which they did in a way or another, Salah or something else, and this time they did it again.
Too much of a muchness in the Arsenal midfield today. Zubimendi, tidy, links play up. He's never going to get the headlines, but he's playing those 10 and 15-yard passes. That's fine. He's dropping into the back 4 and he's linking the play up. But You know, Rice will pass. You know, Rice every now and again does something spectacular like he did in the Champions League with the free kicks. But generally, he's a fetcher and he'll carry and he'll run with the ball. And Moreno, kind of the same. He's tidy on the ball. He'll get in the box to try and get on the end of things if they get crosses in. So they're all kind of much of a muchness. And I know, you know, Martin Odegaard had a shoulder issue. I don't know how. Obviously, they didn't feel that he could play him from the start. We can have a debate about shouldn't you start him and then if you've got to take him off because if you're fit to be on the bench, blah, blah, blah. I think Eze can play that role as well, but he's just in the door and they needed something different in the middle of the park. For all that possession they had in the first half and they were very tidy on the ball, they needed somebody that when they played those 4 or 5 passes and they broke the Liverpool midfield, could play that pass, could slot that ball in between Van Dijk and Kerkez or Konate and Szoboszlai. They didn't really have it. They just went out wide and they gave Liverpool enough time to get bodies back in or make a challenge. And whether it was fitness or whatever, they just had too much of a similar type of player today in the middle of the park. And they didn't have some, for me, Arsenal that could unlock a defence. And saying that,
it was so obvious.
The guy that was doing it for the guy that's supposed to be that guy for Liverpool isn't exactly hitting the heights either. Florian Wirtz. Yeah. I mean, it's been a little bit of a struggle for him coming into English football. But from Arsenal's perspective, they just needed, I felt, as they had a lot of control early on in this game, they needed something a little bit different between that threesome in midfield to what they had. And it was a little bit predictable.
Stevie, what did you make of Wirtz and how, I suppose, Arne Slot can get the best out of him now?
Well, I'm thinking, how long does Arne Slot continue to put up with Wirtz's invisibility, shall we say? I mean, I would love to see. I mean, he's lost possession 11 times. I mean, seriously, and kind of got to the stage now when he's getting it, and you're thinking he's going to lose it. You know, when he's getting it, you're not going, great, they've got him on the ball, something's going to happen, because he's not producing anything whatsoever. So Arne Slot is going to have to think, how long does he continue to put up with Wirtz not contributing? Because he certainly doesn't contribute defensively. And when he's not contributing going forward, you can't get away with it so much. And you're certainly going to have a problem when Szoboszlai is going to be moved from right back, because the way he's playing and what he's producing, whether it's at full back or in the middle of the park, way outweighs what Florian Wirtz is doing. So eventually, Arne Slot is going to have to make a decision.
I mean, it's early days. I would hasten to hazard a guess that 95% of the Liverpool fans probably, at minimum, don't watch the Bundesliga. Yeah. So they won't know. They'll have heard of Florian Wirtz. Yeah. They may have seen him play for the national team the odd time, probably not.
They watch the highlights, but again, those are highlights.
Liverpool fans, like most fans, are very focused on their own side.
Yeah.
And so they'll have seen all the fanfare about this player coming in, and rightly so. Him and Musiala were the best creative players in German football. However, Liverpool, the supporters have no interest what he did at Bayer Leverkusen. And so that adds a little bit of pressure when you've got the fan base kind of like sitting, you know, maybe moaning and groaning a little bit when as he gave the ball away a few times, like Stevie mentioned 11 times. So that adds a pressure to a player when he comes in as a bit of an unknown to Liverpool fans, which he is, not unknown to all of us, but to the fan base. And he starts in a very, I'll be nice, a very mediocre way for somebody who's supposed to be a superstar. So listen, there's loads of time to turn it round. But Liverpool have options in there. And what is he, the most expensive player in English football, or certainly Liverpool's history? It's a big pressure on your shoulders. So I think the transition from Germany to England for a lot of players has not been easy. And at the moment, he's finding it a little difficult going from Bayer Leverkusen to Liverpool and harnessing the same type of performances.
Well, Jules, I'm sure Arne Slot, of course, has to figure out how he gets the best out of Wirtz, but also Mikel Arteta kind of has to figure out, as Craig pointed out, how to get the best out of Gyökeres so far.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it was tough for both number 9s really today. Kitike, I think, had 2 passes and 8 touches, 1 in the Arsenal box. It was not much more for Gyökeres, as we see here on the stats. He lost the ball a lot, 5 passes only, and nothing really in terms of being at the end of something created for him. So we go back to the point that Craig made earlier, which is right, lack of creativity, especially with that midfield. And Madueke is good at taking on players, but the end product is often missing, really, and Martinelli is out of confidence at the moment. When Eze and Odegaard came on, you saw a little bit more of what could happen, really, when Saka is going to be back and Eze is going to be ready to start and be influential in that team. Plus, Odegaard and Gyökeres need all of that, really. And I still think that today, the way the two teams approached it and that battle in midfield that we mentioned, it was always going to be difficult for any number 9s on either side, really. So we need a bit more. But if you look at the United game and the Liverpool game, both away, both really difficult fixtures, obviously, for Gyökeres, it's true that you expect more from him going further in the season.
Stevie, what did you make of Arsenal's tactics as well? Because Jules was talking about it earlier when we said that the game was boring, but Jules said he actually found it interesting because of the tactics. You had a little chuckle there. But what did you make of the Gunners' tactics today?
Well, I find it interesting that he comes out and says that we came to win the game when we've just pointed out that there's nobody in the middle of the park that's a creative football player. So how are you going to go and win the game when you don't have anybody to create anything? And you don't have anybody to supply your goal scorer. You go out and spend a lot of money on a goal scorer. In order for him to score goals, you have to give him service. You have to create opportunities for your centre forward, for your goal scorer to win games. So when you don't have anybody on your team who's actually going to do that, then don't be surprised.
But I think Odegaard
that you don't score goals.
I think Odegaard, it was more of a fitness issue from his.
But then, why didn't he play Eze then?
Well, he's not long in the door. I don't think he feels he's quite ready.
Did come on, but
Danny and I had this argument, right? And the only reason he didn't play Eze is because it's Arteta. It's because of the coach. But which I understand. He's only been in the door for many days and the rest of it.
He played in the Community Shield and he played in the Chelsea game. So he's had two games.
But Craig, don't come out and he comes out and says we came to win the game. Well, you didn't. If you'd come to win the game, then you would have played Eze. Or at least you would have played Wanyeri. People that want to go forward, people that want to create and score goals. That's kind of what irritates me. Why don't you just come out and say, look, we wanted to be strong, but we wanted to try and get forward when we could. But don't come out and say we came to win the game when it's just not true. It's just not. I knew he wouldn't play Eze, but he should have played Eze.
I mean, it's crystal clear that Martinelli's not going. It's crystal clear Martinelli's not going to be the answer on that left-hand side. He's had his good periods. Every now and again he'll do something with his pace in behind, but he's just not consistent enough, or anywhere near consistent enough, I think, to hold down a position. If Arsenal want to win the title, they need to make sure they need to have Saka fit, or if he's not fit, he's backed up properly by Madueke. And they need to get Eze into the team. And they need to keep Odegaard fit and make sure he's performing on the high level, at a high level on the big games, which you could argue he didn't do last year. But they need to get Eze into the team because he's something different. Yeah. He gives fullbacks something to think about. He'll go outside you. He's got a little bit of pace. He can drop a shoulder. You saw that at the end when he went down the touchline. And the ball got stuck under his feet a little bit, otherwise he was away. So he can go both ways, but he gives you, as a fullback, he gives you food for thought because he'll sort of narrow himself. He'll come inside a little bit into that position where you think, am I going to go with him there or not? Because he's clever and he can get turned, he can create things, he can score a goal, he can see a pass. That's why they've signed him. They need to get him into the side because they need to have creative players to feed the number 9 in particular that they've brought in, who was scoring a bunch of goals in Portugal. He's got one already, well, one in the league anyway, which was the home game against Leeds. They need to get him operating and get him operating fast to get his confidence going. And you don't get time in this league. That's the thing. You don't get time. Before you know it, you're behind the 8 ball. So it's early in the season, but already, Arne Slot has some food for thought early in the season with his defensive issues. And I think Mikel Arteta has it in the other area of the pitch is how am I going to get the best out of these players so that we can create chances and put them in the back of the net.
Jules, what do you make of what the boys are saying about getting Eberechi Eze more involved in Mikel Arteta's team now and his system and what he wants this season? Do you feel he's ready for it now?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we discussed it with Stevie on Friday night. I thought he was going to start today, and Stevie, to be fair, was right by saying he's just arrived. Even if we say now, he should have started, but Stevie was saying he's just arrived. This is a tough game to start away, which is true, and I think this is part of the reason why he didn't start. I think you saw when he came on, he just asked different questions to Szoboszlai in this case, to the defense, even Joe Gomez. Then when he came on too, compared to Martinelli, as we said, who's lost confidence a bit and had one goal in the first half, and then that was it pretty much. So Eze will have to be influential and will become influential for this team in his own style and profile. He needs the right fullback to play behind him, because obviously he plays on that left-hand side but comes inside a lot because he's not really a left winger. So he needs the right guy, whether that's Calafiori or Lewis Kelly or Hincapié if he does come to Arsenal. Arteta will have to find again. We go back to this jigsaw that we were mentioning since the start of the season, and Craig mentioned again tonight, of finding the right pieces and who fits where and how and when, and how you just feed all those players, and Saka and Odegaard and Gyökeres and Eze. What is your midfield behind that? What is the best left back, etc., etc. And there is a bit of time, but not so much time that they will need to figure out pretty quickly.
I'm seeing a very early season serious breach of contradiction rules here. Stevie was arguing with Jules a few days ago why Eze wouldn't play because it was a big game, and now he's blaming Arteta today for Eze not playing.
See, this is what happens when you don't actually hear a conversation and then you think you know what the conversation was. I said Eze wouldn't play because Arteta would be the stubborn one. Arteta's the one that would come out with well, he doesn't know everybody. He doesn't understand the way we play. He's not ready. It's Anfield.
So you think
it's
he
a
should
big
have played?
game. Of course he should have played.
Right.
I'm delighted he didn't play. But I told Dan, particularly Dan and Jules, that he wouldn't start. And I did say he should start. And I told you the reasons why he wouldn't start. And that's what Jules was talking about.
Jules, do we know what the issue was with Saliba?
He rolled his ankle before the game.
No, I don't know yet. I haven't had
He rolled his ankle
yet.
before the game, Jules. And the warm-up.
I think it was the ankle. It looked like the ankle to me. I saw it straight away on that first challenge near the touchline, and then obviously the one with the Kitike just when he came down. So, I'm expecting to hear back tonight, and it should be the ankle, I think, yeah.
You know, when you've got a player up front like Gyökeres, he's willing to run the channels. He looks very cumbersome, but when you've got two big snorting centre-halves, I don't think it's the wisest sort of tactic to try and sling a ball into the corner flag from where he's got absolutely nowhere to go. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I think he's just got to be a little cuter about it, a little bit more guile, which, as Jules mentioned, they looked as if they had in the end when Odegaard and Eze was on. And then don't forget, they brought I think he's 15.
Yep, 15 years old.
They brought a 15-year-old on. I mean, it's quite incredible, isn't it? I mean, they had I think one year he was on the bench as well. But yet this youngster comes on before him. It's a big ask, isn't it? I mean, I know he's a cracking young player and he might be some sort of superstar in the making. Who the hell knows what happens? But this is still two juggernauts, the two favourites for the Premier League going at it. Mm-hmm. You know, and I'm not convinced chucking a 15-year-old on in a game like that is the best case scenario. Again, that's not my decision. That was Mikel Arteta's. But a bit of a surprise to me, as good as he is, chucking a young man on as young and that into a match with that magnitude.
He recoils after he hits it. You know, generally when you're playing a strike like that or hitting the ball as hard as you can, you're following through. You're following through on it. This guy doesn't do that. As soon as he's made contact with it, he's looking to recoil. So he has worked something out. And I've not seen anybody else doing it. What are you laughing at?
Craig's found something funny.
What are you laughing at?
The recoil.
Aye.
The recoil.
Honestly,
the only other person I've seen you do that is him with a bag of chips.
He recoils from a bag of chips?
He recoils when it goes...
it goes straight.
No, I know what you mean. But
It's completely unique the way he strikes the ball.
And also, if you watch where he caught it, he's like right in the... You know, most of your strikes is on your laces. This is quite difficult to explain here. But he actually strikes it with his toes, almost, which is able to, as well as the recoil, that's why he's able to get that dip.
The movement.
That's why he's able to get it up and dip in the way it did. You see quite a few players doing that now. I mean, Ronaldo, I think what he used to say, he line up with the valve of the ball or something to get a little bit more movement in it. So there is techniques, but we can talk about it all day. It was a great free kick.
Yeah.
Absolutely out of this world. And he's done a really good job going to that right-back position. He said it himself, never done it before. But he went out there. He wasn't under as much pressure as he should have been for all the reasons we discussed 10 or 15 minutes ago. But when he did have to do anything defensively, he looked quite comfortable. He's a very experienced player. Don't forget he's captain of his country and all that sort of stuff. So he's an experienced player. But still, moving into a foreign position like that in big games is never the easiest thing to do.
Yeah, Jules, and I mean, just reading exactly what he had to say after, where he said he hasn't actually practiced a free kick like this in a couple of weeks, but he watched a lot of keeper videos looking at David Raya there, and he just got it right.
Yeah, absolutely. He said also he knows what he likes and how he dives and things like that. It's just he had to be inch perfect because Raya is not too far. Actually, he can't save it, but he's gone for it, and it's just perfect. The ball is far, it's far, but Szoboszlai is one of the best hitter of the ball like that, whether it's on dead balls or in movement. The way Craig just described how he hits it with his toes is very particular to him. I think he trained a lot with his dad when he was younger on really, really tight shoes as well, football boots, to hit it like that again and again and again. And he's got this wonderful, he's scored a lot of goals outside of the box like that with Hungary, with Liverpool and with Leipzig before in this kind of way. But a free kick like this, at that time of the game too, with 10 minutes to go in a game that was so tight and so close, it's just wonderful to see.
Fabian Hürzel, the happy one today. I did say that Brighton and the Amex is never an easy place to go for anyone. And Manchester City now 2 losses in a row. Let's hear from Pep Guardiola after the game.
Of course, the momentum in the Premier League is always happen after goal. Can do that, but in that moment we forgot to stop to play like we have done brilliantly the first hour in a tough opponent, always have been, and we play really, really good. We create a lot, but after the goal, like really the Spurs, that we play really, really good in the beginning. But base like is still really very good, and the new players are really good too. This question of click and mentioning a final momentum that when we are going to start to winning games is going to happen.
All right, so like I said, 2 losses in a row for Pep Guardiola and Manchester City. Panic stations yet?
No, but I wouldn't say they were really, really good. I mean, they were better than Brighton in the first half. Brighton were very lightweight up front. They've lost João Pedro, obviously. Danny Welbeck was up there. Matoma wasn't great. So they were a little lightweight in the front line, and that showed. Erling Haaland had 2 or 3 good chances in the first half, and Stevie talked about one of them there. It was like a pass back. But in the second half, as Brighton got on the front foot, fair play to the manager. He made a quadruple substitution. Jorginho Ruta come on, Gruda come on, Milner come on, there was one other substitute come on. And it just changed the flow of the game for them. It gave them a bit more positivity. And obviously Lewis Dunk at the back post, I think it might have been Bernardo Silva was picking him up. He just brushed him off like a bit of a twig. And then obviously the hand from Matheus Nunes changes a bit of the momentum, but still, John Stones steps out, tries to play a pass that's very difficult because it's on the volley, tries to just feed it into somebody. It goes a bit awry. All of a sudden they break and he's out of position, and City are carved wide open at the back. So yeah, not surprised. And somebody on the show mentioned it the other day. It wasn't me. That aura, that fear factor. That worried about getting a pasting.
Me.
It was Stevie. Listen to your elders.
Give yourself a pat in the back. Mr. Recoil.
Hey,
Mr. Recoil.
Hold on. Whoa. It just came back, yeah.
That fear factor that they had, even with Rodri back in the side and all these tidy players, it's not there. It's just yes, Haaland will score goals. Yeah, Marmoush is quick and Reinders is tidy and good player and all that sort of stuff. But what you know when you play this current version of City for the last 18 months to 2 years, minimum, you're going to get chances. It's not like it's Arsenal's back four. It's not like it's Liverpool, even Liverpool with the struggles. It's not this solid unit. It doesn't matter if it's Diaz that's in the team, he wasn't in the team today. It was Kushinov and Stones. It doesn't matter if it's Akanji or Diaz or Stones. You're going to get chances. You've got a midfielder again at right back, and you've got an attacking new signing at left back, Anel Nouri, who's not a great defender. So this City side, yeah, they may cause you some problems, but you can absolutely get at this back four. And all the talk last year, well, when Rodri's back, things are just going to be, everything's going to be hunky-dory again. And yeah, you're going to be a better side. But even Rodri can't make up for some of the deficiencies that are in this side still.
Stephen, a lot of those deficiencies coming in the defence, as Craig pointed out.
Well, it's interesting he's talking... every single interview he's done this season, he keeps talking about how great the new players are. That's not his problem. His problem are the players that he's had there for the last 18 months. Because they can't... Trafford, after having a nightmare last week, was probably their best player on the day because of the saves he made. I mean, we saw one in the highlight. I mean, that'll be played on a reel for years to come, the way he plucked that out from going in the back of the net. But he had two other fantastic saves as well. So it's one thing to start going on and trying... Again, it's propaganda. It really is propaganda. Because he says after every game how well the new players have done. As if he's trying to shove it down your throat, is he trying to take the pressure off the back line? Because he's done absolutely nothing to change the back line. A back line that completely lost its aura and just gave everybody and anybody, regardless of the opposition, opportunities, and he did nothing about it. And that's what his problem is going to be for the rest of the season, because he's clearly not going to do anything about it until when Monday comes along. And I can't see them doing much in January. So he better get used to having to try and outscore the opposition, because he's going to be losing more goals every game.
Jules, it's so surreal to hear the guys speaking about this Manchester City, because this is still Pep Guardiola's Manchester City, but they're right. It feels like they've lost that fear factor. They've lost that aura. And now, as Craig said, teams going up against them thinking, you know, we're going to get a couple chances to go at them in these games. So what does Pep Guardiola do?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they have also lost a lot of leadership, I think. And you saw that at 1-1, there was only one winner here. It was Brighton. We all knew it. You could watch it on television, in the stadium, listening on the radio, whatever. You just knew. And their head dropped again. And they just had no reaction, nothing. They lost their balance. And that's probably the biggest problem, because they are all over the place defensively at times, because a game lasts 90 minutes. And yeah, you can be good for 45. But it lasts 90 minutes, and they lost a lot of their structure too. I mean, Bernardo Silva is the club captain this season. I don't think he's good enough anymore. And this game is almost copycat of the same game last season in November at the Amex as well, where Brighton were 1-0 down at half-time. Haaland scored in the first half for City, a first half that City controlled pretty much the same way as they did today, and then changing from Hurtler in that second half. Pep doesn't react to it. He's outsmarted, and then City collapse. They just collapse. They just have no answer anymore. And this is maybe the most baffling. If for Guardiola after the game said the basics are good, the basics are not good. Because otherwise you would not concede that second goal the way you did, where you all over the place, where you make mistakes, experienced players making mistakes. I think there's so much work to do there. And to be fair, after the Wolves game, I thought, okay, this looked good from City. It's promising. Wolves are dreadful. We saw that. By now we know they are a really bad team. And that was just not the reality for City. They have the same issues as last season. Rodri said after the game today, you know, we are not very good. You know, we are not at the level. And remember Bernardo Silva last season saying they were playing like an under-16 team. It's the same problems a year on that haven't been sorted out.
This is the season we're going to find out whether he's got that ability and desire to turn the ship around, or whether he's going to walk. Because if he's not anywhere near in the title fight and they drop out of it, you can just see it all unravelling.
Are they in the title fight when you look at them?
Well,
I know it's early days, but
no, I don't think they're going to go toe-to-toe with Liverpool and Arsenal if they continue defending like this. I think even for Liverpool, if they don't sort the defensive issues out that they had at the start of the season, that's going to be a struggle for them.
Yeah.
Nobody started like a house on fire. Nobody. There's not one team you can turn around right now. And you might say, well, Liverpool sat at the top league with 9 points, but they're lucky to have 9 points. Let's be quite frank. They haven't got going. I don't believe Arsenal are anywhere close to what they're capable of as well. And certainly City are not. So I think it's a little early to say that they're absolutely not going to be in it. But if they don't change the personnel at the back, and they don't change the way they're trying to play, then this is just going to continue. I think one of the questions is
after that debacle last year where they fell off the cliff, City, and the manager was lost. He just couldn't right the wrongs. Aye. He couldn't stop the ship taking on water, which he always was able to do before. And then you think, right, is he going to go away, refresh in the summer and come back hungry and ready to change a little bit, just to be able to cover over the deficiencies they've got? I think the answer initially is no. He's just churning out the same stuff. He's saying the same stuff. His teams are playing the same way. That, of course, could improve, and they might go on some sort of run. We'll see. I mean, certainly last year's evidence and early season evidence of this year would suggest no, but maybe they will. But I think the question is he turning into what Mourinho turned into, which was a guy who, for many a year, everything he touched, and it was a different style of play, but every player that he brought in, almost every player that he coached and everything he touched was a bit of a Midas touch. And it was like he was able to get different things out in special moments out of players. And then he lost it.
Yeah.
And when he lost it, he lost the players. And when he lost the players, he started getting bad results. When he got bad results, he got sacked. And that has continued for him to this day until this week, when he was sacked at Fenerbahce. But there's been quite a lot of clubs in between. And I'm wondering if we're going to see this with Guardiola, where he's had this Midas touch. His teams played the best football. He did stuff tactically that was innovative, where he used to put players, and other teams copied. And he, of course, when he was at Barca, he had the Messis and all that sort of stuff. But some of the football his teams have played have been magnificent. That's gone. And the question is, has he gone in his head? And I think we're going to find out this season. I think it's make or break for him. Yeah. And I don't think City will sack. I think it's unlikely City will sack him if they go on some sort of horrible run. But I don't think it's an impossibility that he just walks away and said, I just cannot get out of these players or this team what I once got out of them, which was being the best team in England and the best team in Europe. And I think that's going to be one of the interesting subplots to this season is, can he get back to where he was as a manager? Because if he does that, he's got half a chance with the players. But I think there's a huge question mark surrounding him, let alone his team and his team's performances.
Here are some of the transfer deadline storylines that we are looking at. Like I said, Emi Martinez linked with a move to Manchester United. Gay linked with Liverpool, and Stevie's waiting, believe it or not, for Alexander Isak, who is still linked with Liverpool. And there are a couple more, including that very interesting case of Nicholas Jackson traveling all the way to Munich, thinking he was going to put pen to paper there on a loan deal. But Chelsea said not so fast after they suffered an injury.
Well, he didn't cycle to Munich. It's not that far.
Well,
it's a couple of hours on a flight. I mean, I don't know what happened with
private jet.
I don't know what happened on yesterday's show, but there was a bit of a Nicholas Jackson sort of loving. There was a bit of an empathy.
From Frank. Frank just feels a lot.
I mean, at the end of the day...
He says, remember, they're human. They're not pawns, Craig.
To be fair, how low must Jackson be right now? I mean...
Well...
I mean, surely even you have got to feel something for him.
He's going to sit on the bench at Bayern Munich. Yeah, but he's sitting on the bench at Chelsea or sitting on the bench at Bayern Munich. What's the difference?
Well, I'd rather sit on the bench at Bayern. But,
but the point is, he's sitting on the bench wherever he goes. Look, at the end of the day, he's Chelsea's player.
The answer's no.
No.
Well, look, he's at the end of the day, any football club is within their right to change their mind and call the player back when they have an injury. That's just common sense.
Everybody would do it.
Well, it would be absolutely bonkers for Enzo Maresco to say, tell you what, just let him go. Even though none of us think he's the best or he's the answer, he's a body, right? And that's how they're treating him, as an extra body.
Yeah.
And so any club would do the same. So, look, what was he going? Would he have made a difference at Bayern? Is Bayern's season going to hinge on Nicholas Jackson? I know the squad is thin, and Vincent Kompany has talked about that. Harry Kane has talked about it. I get all that. But surely to God, Bayern Munich's season should not hinge on getting Nicholas Jackson on a loan. And as for the player, it's just tough. It's just tough. It's just tough. Yeah. These things happen.
Oh, wow. Yeah. That's tough.
It's not wow. It's just these things happen. I mean, he was going to Bayern. Chelsea have an injury. They're his parent club. He's gone back. It's not difficult to figure it out.
So we don't need an X-ray. The heart's not there.
No, the heart's not there. We don't need an X-ray.
No. Listen, of all the things going on in the world today, I ain't feel sorry for a player that's getting paid way more than he should be getting paid, getting called back from a loan, by the way.
Pylon!
He got an 8-year contract, a 7-year, whatever it was, year contract last year. He should be dancing all the way back to Chelsea.
I was going to say poor Nicholas Jackson, but we know he's anything
but
Jules.
On.
Jules, away from the Nicholas Jackson talk, I mentioned a couple of the top storylines heading into deadline day. Which ones do you have your eye on?
I mean, there's only one place, really. It's in Newcastle, who have reopened talks with Liverpool for Alexander Isak, and this is just the news we were waiting for, really. Would Newcastle open the door, or would the door stay shut, and they would force him to stay, to just put it that way, and not allow him to go to Liverpool? They've reopened the talks tonight. I think now we can expect the transfer of Alexander Isak from Newcastle to Liverpool to happen tomorrow, probably around the £120 million mark, which would make him obviously the most expensive player in British football history. Because I think Newcastle felt that this was the right thing to do for them. They can sign another forward, another striker, whether that's Johan Wissa or Strand Larsen or Conrad Harder, somebody else. That remains to be seen, but it looks like for both Guehi, which is a bit more straightforward, let's be honest here, than Isak, but still, it looks like both Guehi and Isak are very much on for happening tomorrow.
Stevie, that is the news you wanted to hear.
Oh, big time.
Oh, yes.
Absolutely.
That's a hell of a transfer summer, isn't it?
Yeah.
Never saw that coming, all that stuff.
But you'll take it all day, every day.
Oh my goodness, big time. And I'll take Gay first as well, by the way.
Sid Lowe was there at Vallecas. Sid, this game had pretty much everything. We were speaking about it earlier, and Craig said that Barcelona probably will be thanking their lucky stars that they even got a point from this one, especially which was surrounding or on the back of what was a very questionable penalty.
Yep, thank their lucky stars because of the very questionable penalty, because of a couple of extraordinary saves from Gian Garcia, and because of a couple of really big chances that Rayo Vallecano failed to take as well. I thought it was a fantastic second-half performance from Rayo. We talked, didn't we, even pre-game about how these kind of games tend to be very open, tend to be very chaotic. At times, maybe there was a lack of touch and control and kind of clarity in the two teams, but it was full throttle, particularly from Rayo, and I think they absolutely deserved to get a point from this, and probably actually should have got all three.
Sid, we should have more pitches like this in La Liga, should we not?
Well, look, I mean, I think it's very interesting, actually, that the build-up to this game, the Rayo players themselves were talking about this, and it doesn't necessarily suit them either. Now, maybe it suits them in that they live a little more comfortably in the chaos. They like the game to be stretched a little bit more. They like the game to be a little bit more direct, so perhaps there's a slight touch of that helping them. But obviously, both teams have to deal with it. Rayo have players who would rather not play on a pitch like this as well, and they've been very critical of it. So it may have been part of the advantage, but I think it's a much broader question than that. And I think as well that, you know, you look at what Rayo did tonight, and really and truly, this is what Rayo have been doing for 4 years or so now. Bear in mind that Inigo Perez was the assistant manager to Andoni Iraola. Iraola was playing like this when he was here in Spain. Obviously, there's a touch of this in the way that he plays at Bournemouth as well. I remember when he was here asking him about their approach and the idea of it being kind of an organised chaos. And his response to that was really nice. He said, I prefer it to be more chaos than organised. I like it when a lot of things happen, when there's a volume of chances and opportunities, even if it runs the risk of being caught out. And Inigo Perez, I think, is a tiny bit more cautious than Andoni Iraola was. But the basic approach is the same. And this is a team, and I think it's very unusual, that really goes for everybody. We saw last year Barcelona be beaten by Leganés, for example, and be beaten by Las Palmas. Now, both of those, I thought, were brilliant performances from teams that eventually went down. But they were performances based on being defensively solid and trying to catch them on the break. What Rayo did tonight, and it's true they didn't win, they only got a draw, was to go for Barcelona. And they do that every time. The last 5 times that Barcelona have been here, they've had 2 wins. Sorry, the last 6 times they've had 2 wins. Rayo have had 2 wins and have been 2 draws. It's not an easy place to come and play when Rayo play in this manner.
Well, Sid, we just heard from Issy Palazón, who admitted that the ref came to them and admitted that he made a mistake in terms of that penalty. What do you make of that? And is it just an apology that's going to fall on deaf ears at this point? Well, look, I mean, let's start with the ears that it falls on originally, which are Issy Palazón's own ears. And I really liked his response, which is to say, yes, of course you're annoyed. Of course you feel furious about it. Of course you feel robbed. But actually, on a human level, you can understand it. And I suppose in a way there's a broader question here, isn't there? Which is that one of the things that VAR has done
And you know, regular viewers will know that I'm not a massive fan of VAR, although I do appreciate that it gets rid of quite a lot of errors. And for example, would have gotten rid of that error tonight. But what it's done, I suppose, in a way, is it's made it harder for us to accept mistakes, or harder for us to accept decisions that we interpret differently to the guy in the VAR room or the referee on the pitch. And I think what Ixi Palathon was articulating after the game was, look, the referee got it wrong. And yes, we were furious. But you know what? If he gets it wrong as a human because he's seen it badly, because it's quick, I can kind of accept that. Now, so as you say, will it fall on deaf ears? Well, it didn't with him, and he was the player most affected by it, or one of the 11 players on the pitch most affected by it. I think, of course, it will cause a stir. Of course, people will talk about it. Of course, there'll be the usual conspiracy theories, because there always are in Spain. But I think actually the fact that VAR wasn't involved, in a way, makes it easier for people to accept it, because we will recognise it as human error rather than recognise it as something, how do I put this, systemic.
Stevie, you struggled to keep a straight face while Sid was talking there.
Well, I was just, this whole VAR, when it started, I hope every single one of them that was complaining about it is looking at
Recoils?
themselves now. Yeah, recoil and look at yourself now. Because now we're in a situation where we realise how good it actually is. And every now and again, we get that confirmation. And today is just one of those days where it's confirmed that VAR is actually a very good thing.
Nada?
Well, there are areas of VAR and how it's interpreted and the time frame that sometimes it operates in that are very frustrating. But the stats and the facts will tell you that it cleans up more of the big decisions than before. Not them all, but more. And if you're in the brigade that says, well, I don't like technology in the game and I just want to accept the referee making a decision with a naked eye, you can't then go to the pub and moan to your mates when decisions like this happen. Well, this was when it happens to your team. Well, it's a disgrace. He was no contact. He never touched him.
Are you speaking to Sid directly?
No, I'm not. But I mean, you know, so that scenario, that scenario has gone. And as frustrating as it is, it's there to clean up. And it will never be 100% the big calls. And today, for Rayo Vallecano, and I suppose for Barca, because there would have been no points at all. And there shouldn't have been any points for Barca today, but they take a point, which may be the difference at the end of the season and winning and losing the league. And for Rayo Vallecano, that was a huge call for them today. A huge call that they did not get the ability to be able to go, and it's not the referee's fault. I do not blame the referee. No. He made an honest, and it looked like a penalty at full speed. Sometimes when you looked at it, you went, oh, he's clattered into him there. Yeah. But on replay, he had not. The referee didn't have that luxury, and that went Barca's way today. As I said on the show earlier, it is very frustrating when technology is not giving you a level playing field across all the games every week, and it did not tonight in this game.
All right, well, at this point, we can thank our Sid Lowe for joining us. Sid, we're going to let you go and go to the pub and moan with your mates, as Craig says about VAR.
That's the one thing I'm going to take issue with Craig on, is exactly that. I can still go to the pub and complain about the decision, even with VAR. In fact, I can consider it to be far more conspiratorial now, because it's not just the referees that are against me, it's the machines as well.
Yeah, but have you got any mates though, Sid, to go to the pub?
We're all here, so do you actually have any mates?
No, but Steve, those are the machines as well. I go to and complain to the machines. I'll go and complain to the machines.
And you wonder why he's a writer. Sid Lowe, thank you so much for joining us.